All right, well, I want to say that it is an honor and a privilege, the great angel Jibril and Brother Tariq, to be on the line with you mighty warriors that Allah is blessed to enter into this most important of all nation building skills. As we've been given our supreme wisdom lessons by Master Father Muhammad, the only two things that he mentions as professions inside the supreme wisdom is engineering and teachership. In fact, in problem 14 of the problem book, he Master Father Muhammad breaks down the most effective and most outstanding university of the ancient times, which was Al-Azhar University in Cairo. And he said that 2/10 of the students out of 3,600 students were taking civil engineering, 3/10 were taking construction engineering, and another 3/10 were taking mechanical engineering, and the rest of the students were taking teachership. Now, if you add up 3/10, 2/10, and 3/10, that's 8/10, and if you break it to its common denominator, that's 4/5.
Yes, sir.
4/5 of all the students in the most powerful and progressive university of that time were taking engineering in some form, and the other 1/5 was taking teachership. And I imagine some of them teachers was even teaching engineering.
Yes, sir.
So this is a nation building skill that we must gain mastery in.
So we won't get right up into it as we get warm already. So in the Nation of Islam, we have a saying, and we're striving to embody it in Islam is mathematics is Islam, and that we should look to, seek, and move to applying our mathematical theology.
Yeah.
What is it about the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad that is mathematical? And in what way can those of us, particularly in the science, technology, and your mathematics fields, make the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's word bind on a day-to-day?
Well, Brother Jibril, that's a good question. Unfortunately, you hear an argument all the time over what's the number one religion on the planet. And you'll see it going back and forth from Christianity to Islam. And the Christians will say we got 1,250,000,000 Christians. And then the Muslims will say, but we got 1,500,000,000 Muslims. And then the Christians come back and say next year we got 1,600,000,000. And then they come back in the Islamic world, we got 1,750,000,000. But I got news for you. The number one religion in the world is not Islam, Christianity, or Judaism. The number one religion on the earth is spookism.
Come on, Muhammad.
Spookism, what is spookism? Spookism is an extreme or excessive emotional attachment to a non-existent nothing. It's blind faith. So what the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad does is it busts up spookism by taking divinity away from a spirit and giving it to a man, which is where it's supposed to be. So our teacher, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, Brother Jibril, he said this in the illuminating and monumental book, Our Savior Has Arrived. If you look at page 61 through 74 of Our Savior Has Arrived, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that there are 4 areas that you must find agreement in order for you to accept something to be a proven truth.
That was my next question.
Yeah, look at this. And you know what Paul said in the Bible. Paul said, prove all things.
Go ahead.
And hold fast to that which is good. So he didn't say just believe, you just got to have faith, and you just got to let go and let God. He said, no, prove all things and hold fast to that which is good. Well, to prove something, you have to find material evidence in the reality that you live in that matches what you're being told is true. So the messenger said this. He said the 4 areas that you must find agreement in before you can accept something to be proven to be true is scripture, nature, and listen to these 2, science and mathematics.
Yes, sir.
And if you can't find congruency in scripture, nature, science and mathematics to a belief, a religious concept, a theory, or an opinion, then you have a right to discard that opinion because it cannot be held fast to, because it cannot be proven to be true. So that's the mind of Muhammad. The mind of Muhammad is a mathematical mind. The mind of Muhammad is a mind of logic, reasoning, analytical thought process, deduction, inference. That's the kind of mind Muhammad makes, not the mind of a spooky man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. One more question before I turn it over to my bro. God Muhammad taught us that there were three core sciences that were kept from our people.
Yes.
And still to this day kept. They are the science of mating, science of business, and the science of warfare.
Yes.
What makes these three areas sciences, and why is it so key to when trying to keep a people down to the level of civilization that you keep them away from those core sciences?
Beautiful question. Well, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad did say that, and we found a record that in 1867, in the halls of Congress, there was a debate among the United States Congress over whether they were going to allow black people, the freed slaves, quote unquote, to ever go and get higher education to colleges and universities. And there was two laws or two rules that they came up with in Congress in 1867. Number one, Negroes, you would not be allowed to go to school with my white son and my white daughter. And then number two, if you're going to have your own independent black colleges and university, there's three sciences that you cannot teach those that are enrolled. And that's the science of mating, which is mate selection, and also mate management and the management of the offspring that come from it. So there's two sides of mating. One is as a woman picking the right man, and as a man picking the right woman to marry. And two, the other side of mating is parenting, actually cultivating and developing that child to be what they're born to be. Second thing they said was the science of warfare. You know they didn't want us to learn that, because if we knew that, then we would be calculating by means of damage done who was the real enemy, and we would have responded accordingly. And then, of course, the science of finance, or the science of business. These three key essential sciences. Science meaning from the Latin scire, which means to know. These are the three key areas that a nation or a group must have knowledge in order for them to build and sustain themselves as a nation. So they never wanted us to build a nation of our own. They never wanted us to have the psychological equipment to actually maintain that nation, because they know that any time that they allow us in any endeavor as original people, we dominate. And they knew that if we were to invest the same discipline, fight, focus, and drive that we've been putting into sports and entertainment, into science, into technology, into engineering, into mathematics, into warfare, into business building, and into mate selection and bringing our children up in the way they should go, then we would absolutely rule the world in the twinkling of an eye, and they will be forced to lose their power as white supremacy.
Wow. Yes, sir. Tariq, you want to segue?
Yes, sir. Well, I just want to first thank you, Brother Nuri, for joining us tonight. Before we continue, for those who are watching, you can text the number 770-695-7912 to go ahead and ask a question to our brother, Nuri Muhammad, as well as also be sure to hit the bell underneath the bottom of the video to make sure that you are aware of our next live feed.
Yes, sir.
This topic is very important to me because I'm very passionate about the nine ministries and anything to do with cultivating something that would allow us to be completely on our own. When you think about the term nation nation building. First off, what actually is a nation? And how do we go about building, how do we currently go about building what we need in that nation? Okay.
Well, a nation by the dictionary, which if, hell, I don't know how good the dictionary is at defining words. Who in the hell is Webster anyway?
Right.
So, but in the dictionary, they define a nation as a group of people that share a landmass that has a boundary. And inside the boundaries of that landmass, there are customs, culture, and social rules that all adhere to inside of that geographical location with a physical boundary. However, when you look at the NOI, look at what it stands for. The nation of, not Ghana, not the nation of Central America. See, all other nations on earth are defined by their physical boundaries that make them a nation. But we are not a nation that is bound by physical boundaries. We're bound by spiritual boundaries, which is the truth of God, the law of God, and the culture that came from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's interaction with God in person. So in that sense, we are a nation within the spiritual context of what a nation should look like. And as the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, he said, the outside is to reflect the inside. So as we are a spiritual nation now, at a certain point, we're going to have to break away and go 100% for self. The only reason we haven't been more assertive and more aggressive at setting up our own state of territory as a nation of Islam is because we are not looking to build a nation with just members of the nation of Islam. We want an independent nation for all of our people that want to live under the spiritual boundaries that Allah has come to give us. So we still are inserted behind enemy lines. We got a beachhead behind enemy lines. And we still in the trenches trying to say to our people, look, come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins and her plagues. And the trumpet is still being sounded, but at a certain point, if the trumpet is sounded and you don't wake up, if the trumpet is sounded and you don't recognize that the king has arrived, if the trumpet is sounded and you don't come to the battlefield, because that's what they use trumpets for, the arrival of a king, warfare, and to let everybody know in the village, wake up. Well, at a certain point, the trumpet is going to stop being blown to wake people up, to let you know that God has arrived, or to call you to the battlefield. And at that time, we will be able to convert the physical, the spiritual into the physical.
Beautiful, beautiful. Now, what are some of the ways you see science and technology bringing about that type of, or not that type, but bringing about the nation that we desire for our people?
Well, as the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, when he laid out some of the key principles of what it takes to build a nation in the economic blueprint, in one of the 5 points that he mentioned in the economic blueprint for independence, he mentioned the fact that we should study the white man, for he is successful. He makes no excuses for his failures. They work together in a collective manner. You must do the same. So right now, anyone that is an engineer, your mindset should be, if I have to work for my enemy, I am on a plantation. I am on a white man's job, but I'm gathering, I'm collecting all of the information that I can gather and collect so that I can transmute the skill set over into the physical and the real world. Phase 1 of being independent as a nation is that the engineer or the brother or the sister has to become independent as an individual. We can't teach separation from the white man for all of our people as a nation, and then we don't have the individual separation in our lives from white man's jobs. So everybody that is in science, technology, engineering, and math that don't have the world yet, that you can practice and do it just 100% for the rise of your people in our own nation, be on that job, but keep calling it what it is. Call it a plantation. Call it the devil's job so you remain dissatisfied. Be observant. Be looking around at the protocols, the procedures, the way that they handle conflict, and look at the systems that they have in place to stay alive as a thriving business. And then whenever you get strong enough, break away and go independent while we are in the white man's world, and then completely independent, build a nation of our own in the very near future.
You said a very important thing by breaking away and being able to be strong enough to separate yourself from your enemy. What is the exact definition of breaking away, and what is not breaking away, and how does somebody truly understand how to do that in order to see the kind of results that they want?
Well, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, he recommended what he called a steal away program. Steal away. See, on the plantation, whenever you were following what they called a steal away program, you was constantly putting up a little money here and there to buy your freedom. Well, so it is when you are on your enemy's job. We can't afford to be given the majority of our day and the prime of our life to upholding the white man's world. We cannot build a nation part-time. We need full-time soldiers to build a nation.
That's right.
So steal away is not saving up money only, but it's also saving up skill sets and knowledge and getting the psychological resources to match your financial resources, finding other brothers and sisters that have a like mind so that you can pool your resources mentally, spiritually, and financially to break away and do for yourself. Now, I would recommend this. Whenever you are on a devil's job, you should want to make sure that what you're doing that you really want to do while you're on the devil's job full time, do what you got to do full time and do what you really want to do part time. Until what you're doing part time is earning enough income that it can replace what you don't want to do for your enemy full time and then break all the way off. That is an adequate steal away program.
Yes, sir. It's funny. That's, it's another FOI that works at my job with me, Brother Omar, formerly out of Chicago, now one of the lieutenants in Philly. And we talk periodically about different things stealing away, amongst many. We mentioned the term separation, and a lot of our people get kind of queasy, if you will, mentally, physically, and spiritually, or just don't seem to fully comprehend or feel that it's either necessary or possible. And what is the science behind separation versus segregation? And what is the mindset that those breed in a people looking for salvation as a change?
Well, that is the unfortunate reality. There's a concept that we learn in study that if you come across a word that you don't understand and you continue to read after you come across a misunderstood word, everything you read from that point becomes a blank in your mind.
Right.
Black people have a whole lot of misunderstood words, yet we have not properly defined those words, and we continue to operate in life with belief systems and opinions that don't match the accuracy of the definitions of the words that we should be looking at. Example, whenever we talk about black unity. Every generation of our people have always been saying that that's all we got to do, come together. We just got to unite. We got to unite. You go back to the 70s, they said it. The 60s, 50s, 40s, 30s. Every generation have said that solution to black people's problems is we have to have unity. Well, question, if in John 1:1 it says in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God, the Word was with God, and the Word became flesh and dwelt among men, what God is saying is there's a natural maturation of a word. Words don't just describe realities. Words, by the law of substitution, create realities. There's no such thing as speaking a word that word won't eventually become an action, that the action won't eventually become a habit, that the habit won't form your character, and your character will produce your future or your destiny. That is the natural process of a word. Problem: we've been saying unity, but we have a misunderstood word because in our mind we're thinking uniformity. We think that everybody gonna look the same, act the same, believe what we believe, do everything we doing, and if they don't do that, it's Church of God in Christ or go to hell. It's you join this temple or you go to hell. But that's not unity. Uniformity is everybody looking the same, doing the same thing at the same place at the same time for the same reason. But unity is doing different things at different places at a different time, but for one common cause. So when our people look at this principle that the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said was the best and only solution to the black and white conflict, he did not say segregation. He said separation. But because black people have a misunderstood word, when we hear the messenger say separation, we are thinking segregation the same way when you hear unity, you're thinking uniformity. Segregation is to be separate and unequal and unjustly handled without the appropriate resources. But separation is to be apart from, but have an even playing field, freedom, justice, and equality, and having the resources that you need to do for self. So we don't believe in segregation. We already have that. We believe in separation. And that concept is, if you think about it, it's the only thing in the Muslim program, which is the wants and beliefs, that's mentioned twice. Separation is a want and separation is a belief. It's in there 2 times. And then the Honorable Elijah Muhammad qualified separation. He said it's the best. Well, if it's the best, that means there is no other solution that you can find better. And then if, just in case you say, well, it might be the best, but I still think that we can do something else that might not be quite as extreme, but we should still benefit. Look at what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said. He said not only is it the best, it is the only solution. So there will not be a free-thinking black man and free-thinking black woman. There will not be an original people or original man reaching their full potential until we separate 100% from our 400-year-old enemy. Unfortunately, our association has breeded an assimilation, meaning what we have been around and who we've been with, we've become. So we have become black devils because we've been raised and trained and educated and in the environment ruled by white devils.
I want to continue that thought, going back to what you said about the common cause. I think in addition to what you discussed regarding the misunderstood word, there's a misunderstood or a poorly conceived cause that the majority of our people want to move towards, which really is, if I have a pie or the white man has a pie, I just want my slice to be a little bigger.
Yeah, well,
As opposed to, I want my own, now I want my own ingredients, I want my own bakery, I want my own trucks, and I want my own area where I go through and deliver my pie.
That's right. Well, you know, when you said pi, I was just thinking about something today. You know the formula for pi in mathematics is 3.14 times the diameter.
Go ahead.
Do you know what today's date is?
3.14. Yes, sir.
Come on now. Come on. But this is Brother Jabril. The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that we have the Lazarus syndrome. In fact, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that we are, as a people, the real Lazarus of the Bible. There's two Lazaruses in there. One of them was laying at the gate of the rich man. Look at this, begging for crumbs that fell from the rich man's table.
Come on.
It's something about the way you see yourself. It's something about your knowledge of self that produces your values and your expectations of what you should be able to extract from the universe, the world, and the way other people should handle you and treat you. See, when you know your value, you wouldn't give the white man that kind of discount, because you know how valuable you are. But because Lazarus is an image of black people's poor self-worth, ain't that something? If you take the word Lazarus and break it down, it's lazy or us.
Come on.
Right.
Hasn't that been black people?
Yes, sir.
It never dawned on Lazarus why he's waiting for some crumbs that fell from the the rich man's table. Why didn't Lazarus say, wait a minute, he's a man like I'm a man.
Right.
And I don't want no crumbs that fall from the rich man's table. I want my own table in my own dining room, connected to my own kitchen with my own stove. Matter of fact, I want to be able to plant my own wheat on my own land, grow that wheat, harvest that wheat, turn it into flour, and make my own bread. I don't need his bread. So it is, Brother Jabril, it is that we don't see ourselves as worthy enough to even have an independent nation or independent business of our own. We see ourselves, unfortunately, as 3/5 of a human being and as second-class citizens, even though we don't say it out loud. And we are satisfied with being able to get the best of the worst from our enemy than producing the best of the best for ourselves. That is why the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad is a universal message that is not a transformation message for the drug dealer or the drug user or the gangbanger or the street brother and sister, but it is also the transformative formula to fix the sciences, the technicians, the engineers, the doctors, the mathematicians, the real estate gurus. All of the talented tenth of our people need the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Otherwise, as you said, then they don't have the right cause in front of us.
Right. Go ahead.
Hell, in the 60s, we used to use the great phrase, keep your eyes on the prize, to justify being water hosed down and having dogs eat our women and having sheriffs raping our daughters in our presence. We used that to say our eyes are on the prize, and we took a lot of crap and pain, but the problem was we had the wrong prize in our mind. The prize we were looking for was being able to sit on a toilet next to a white man, to eat at a white man's restaurant, sleep in their hotels, ride on their buses. And as soon as they let us do it, we lost all of ours. So our cry right now is for our people. You got to think more of yourself. Think more of yourself. And that's why they don't want the masses of the people to listen to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, because he gives the highest level of self-worth and confidence by teaching. Not just that every time you look at a black man, you're looking at an inventor. Every time you look at a black man, you're looking at a pyramid builder. Every time you look at a black man, you're looking at the father of philosophy and medicine and mathematics and civilization. That's true. But the most honorable Elijah Muhammad said, every time you look at a black man, you're looking at God. And if black people seen themselves as God, then crumbs that fall from a rich man's table, a man laying at the gate, waiting for the leftovers of their oppressor, is not the conduct of a God. Gods have force and power. Gods do for themselves. Gods use their own creative power. They say be, and then they organize people, forces, the power of their being, angels and nature to bring about what it is that they want to see in existence. So that kind of power only can come from the teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. We need the doctors, the physicians, the technicians, the engineers, but you need doctor, engineer, you need the teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad so that your prize will be the right thing that you have your eyes focused on. Thinking like a God, building a nation full of gods.
Yes, sir. One more thing while my mind is on him. I'm so back to three. We talk a lot about our people being a show me people. And that, yeah, we talk, we say this, but where's the evidence? If you wouldn't mind, Brother Nuri, if you could share just a couple of ways that you personally have utilized your mathematical theology to, acquire something for yourself and your nation on a day-to-day in your past or current.
Thank you, sir. Well, that is the truth. Black people are all from Missouri.
Come on.
The show me state. And the Holy Quran talks about two categories of people. And it talks about one category that have to see to believe. And then it talks about another category that believe before they ever see. And the group that believe before they see are considered greater in rank with God than those who have to see before they can believe. By Allah's grace, the function that I have and I believe is my purpose for living is to be an aid and a helper to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan by the adding value to our people's lives and resurrection and restoration of the black man and woman on his behalf. So my primary distribution of my mathematical theology has not been in the economic world, but it's been in the spiritual and the mental world as a teacher of black people. And I always tell people, look, my goal is not to become a millionaire. My goal is to help you become one. My aim and purpose and goal in life is to help you achieve yours. However, by Allah's grace, we have been blessed through our unity in Indianapolis. We have a barber and a beauty salon. We have a Muhammad University of Islam. We also have a restaurant, Eat to Live Cafe, and we have our mosque, which is on the main strip. All of these entities are all combined together in covering almost a block area in the city of Indianapolis on 3.5 acres of land. So we've been able to achieve that through unity, but it ain't, I won't take the credit for it. The greatest man we've ever read about in the scriptures, his name was Jesus, they say, and he said, I can of my own self do nothing.
Go ahead.
Now, teamwork makes the dream work. So it is the soldiers and the sacrificing believers in our community that came together and believed in a vision. And by Allah's grace, we were able to materialize those things. So my use of mathematical theology is in accord with my purpose. And my purpose for living is to be a teacher of the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and to guide people to accept the word and way of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan to have the most accurate application of that teaching that will give them peace and power in life. So in that sense, my teaching side, I have 4 books. I sell lectures every single day of the week online. I sell hundreds and thousands of lectures and books, as well as speak in 40 to 60 cities a year plus at home. So that is my use of mathematical theology for my purpose in life. And I don't keep the stat score in my life with money at the top of the equation. I'm not trying to get change. I'm trying to make change.
Yes, sir.
And if I can get some change in the process, all praise is due to Allah.
Right.
Yeah, go ahead, Tariq. Yes, sir.
Well, first off, I just want to thank you, Brother Nuri. This has been an incredible show.
Yes, sir.
All praise is due to Allah.
I definitely look forward to sharing this. Well, if you haven't already, just go ahead and share with as many people as you can. I look forward to sharing once the interview is completed. My question is really pertaining to the young people, to our youth.
Mm-hmm.
As of right now, Jabril and I are still considered youth. As a matter of fact, everybody on this live stream is a young person. I
That's right.
That I can look like you.
Oh, man.
When
Watch your work.
Bro.
All praise is due to Allah.
Yes, sir. But you are a grandfather, correct?
Yes, sir. Yep, I have my first grandchild.
Right. Exactly. So my question is to the youth. You mentioned we have to think better of ourselves. How can we encourage young people to think more of themselves, and particularly to pursue careers in STEM? Because to be honest with you, and this is something that everyone pretty much sees, young people are not really driven towards those areas when they're in school, high school, middle school, college. They're driven towards more music or entertainment or the things like that.
Yeah.
How can we encourage young people to think more of themselves so that they actually can pursue those types of careers?
Well, again, Brother Tariq, as Master Father Muhammad wrote to us in problem 14 in the Supreme Wisdom Lessons, if he's saying at Al-Azhar in Cairo, you had 3 temps taking construction engineering, 2 temps civil engineering, and 3 temps mechanical engineering, and the rest was taking teachership. 4/5 of the 3,600 students at Al-Azhar were engaged in engineering. If this is, you believe that he's God in person, then what God is saying is that he needs a lot of engineers and he needs some teachers. However, I would say this. The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, your purpose for living. How do you know your purpose for living? See, really, at the end of the day, I was, again, with this dictionary thing, I remember the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan in a message he did called The New Educational Paradigm at a Savior's Day. He said that I was looking up the word happiness. He said, no, not in the dictionary, but I consulted myself. I said, as soon as he said, I said, man, who in the hell is Webster anyway?
Right, go ahead.
I'd much rather have a divine definition from God's servant than from some white boy named Webster that we ain't even met.
Right.
Hell, what's his last name? What's his first name? He just known as Webster. What make him so qualified to define words? Look at the minister's definition of happiness. He said, happiness comes when you have found your purpose for living and you are fulfilling that purpose. That soul will then have an unspeakable joy. So what he's telling us is that happiness does not come from filling full your pocket. Happiness comes from fulfilling your purpose.
Yes, sir.
And he didn't say you have to actually fulfill it, complete the cycle, but just being involved in the work that you're born to do, the labor of love, your purpose for living, is where you'll be able to achieve and accomplish your pursuit of happiness. So I would say to all of the young soldiers that whenever God wants 80% of a school to be engineering and the other 20% to be teachers, then if you're going to choose anything on your own, then it should be somewhere geared toward this engineering field. But before you choose anything on your own, even engineering, you want to find out what your purpose for living is. And the most honorable Elijah Muhammad said it's a simple formula that you can figure out your purpose. He said this, he said, whatever you love to do and do well is more than likely what you're born to do. So your purpose is that single activity of life that you do well with the least amount of effort. Your purpose is that activity that you get so much mental satisfaction out of that you don't care whether you get rich or not doing it, because you get so much joy from doing it that the money is third-dairy or fourth-dairy, not even secondary to you. Your soul is satisfied by living your purpose. So if the young soldier would not fall victim to weapons of mass distraction, I know they say weapons of mass destruction, but there's some weapons of mass deception and weapons of mass distraction. If you stay focused and figure out what you love to do and what you do well, that's more than likely what you're born to do. Work on becoming the best at that. And I'm going to tell you something. If you're doing what you love to do, you're going to love it so much that you're going to become so good at it that even if you're willing to do it for free, people will start paying you to do it.
Go ahead.
Right.
So you will be happier, young soldiers. You will be happier growing up, making $25,000 a year doing what you love, than making $250,000 a year doing what you don't want to do. And for the record, God did not create any hoopers. God does not make wide receivers. No one is born to be a linebacker or a running back. No one is born to be a power forward or born to be a point guard.
That's right.
These are the functions of the world of sport and play. But in God's world, you're born to be an engineer. You're born to be a teacher. You're born to be a business investor. You're born to be a nation builder. And you do all the other stuff for recreational reasons.
Yes, sir.
But you're not born to hoop. You're born to be able to do something. You say, but man, look at Steph and look at LeBron. Yeah, but they have a greater calling on their life than what they ever are manifesting.
That's right.
Yeah, that's right.
The only thing that happened to them is that they misappropriated their fight, drive, focus, and discipline into an area of sport and play that they could have invested into their purpose for living. LeBron James will be a much better whatever he's born to be than he is even a basketball player.
That's right.
And I pray Allah that Allah blesses him to discover that purpose for living, and he can take the pocket he got from sport and multiply it by his purpose and make it even bigger in the near future.
Yes, sir.
That would be incredible. Yes, sir. Wow. So this is a show I'm going to be listening to all week long for the next, leading up to the next show, because they're just parts of this discussion that have not only inspired me but also have given me ideas to apply to the things I'm working on now. So thank you again.
Praise be to Allah.
Absolutely.
Thank you, sir. I'm honored to be on your platform, and you all keep up the good work.
Thank you, sir.
Never allow the numbers to dictate your push. You know, power is not in numbers. And at the end of the day, if you can affect a few, if you can affect one, one is all it takes to start a fire, to be able to make a great change. So thank you all so much for blessing me with an opportunity to share the airwaves with you. And I look forward to being back with you all, hopefully in the very near future.
Yes, sir. We actually have one more question for you. And this is
yes,
something
sir.
we like to ask all our guests before we conclude the show.
Yes,
and I'm
sir.
interested to hear your response to it. We ask, since the show is based on science and technology, we like to ask everyone, what does science mean to you? So, say for example, one of your children came up to you and asked you, what does science and technology mean to you as a student minister, as an author, as a motivational speaker, as somebody who is helping to resurrect the dead? What does science and technology mean to you?
Science, to me, is of course, the Latin root word "scire," which means to know. But the process by which one finds out or comes to the conclusion of saying "I know" in science is the kind of process that we need in order to function successfully in the world. So science, to me, is to apply a theory, apply a belief, apply an idea or a teaching, and then be able to have a tangible result that proves that what you believe or what you have as an idea or whatever you're following actually works. And then in science, what I love is that it's not good enough if you can prove it one time. You have to also reproduce what you've proven and keep it consistent down the line. So that's what science is. And I believe that as we call him Master Father Muhammad, his father was one of the 12 major, scientists.
That's right.
So as a scientist, when the God came, if he's master, well, master means control, authority, the top of the top. But master disc, master tape, it also means the original. The goal of the disc or the master is to be used in a duplication process where you can produce many like it. So the science, to me, is the ability in this sense for God to come and then give us a duplication process called Nation of Islam, that we can come into that spiritual duplication process as blank discs, blank-minded people, blank sheets of paper, and go through the system and come out at the end of the cycle a master ourselves. So that's what science means to me. It is the procedures, the process, the technology that is used to take God and reproduce himself and make a nation of gods.
Thank you again, Brother Nuri. I
Thank you, sir.
Like I was saying before, this has been a show that I will continue, that I will be parsing throughout the next few days and really applying it towards what I'm trying to accomplish. And I'm sure Jabril will be doing the same.
Yes, sir.
But once again, thank you all for listening. This has been another edition of the STEM Files. But I'm not going to close off the show. I'm going to let the person that speaks a lot more energetic than I do close the show. My brother, my big brother. Go ahead, bro.
Ooh, bro, you gotta let me do it. You gotta let me do it. Definitely, this has been another package open of the STEM Files. We have been well fed tonight. If y'all aren't on the STEM wave right now, the STEM Files on that wave right now, I don't know what y'all doing. Honestly, so Mr. Nuri Muhammad really broke it down, what science, what technology, engineering, mathematics is, and how it can be applied. So it's one thing to be engaged in and to do things just to do them, but to have a systematic approach to bring about the end, utilizing STEM is what we're here to do. Thank you so much again to Mr. Nuri.
All praise due to Allah. Thank you.
Sir.
Love you too, my brother. Thank you so much.
Our Father, and we strive to do the same. This is our avenue by which we do it. This is us striving to utilize our mathematical theology in what we love and what we're trying to do. I'm smiling and looking over at my wife as she's eating, and I'm smelling the food in the background, and I'm seeing all of, as I'm working, who I have beside me walking along that path with me, and everything is coming full circle. So, family, again, follow us, Original Man Scientific, and OMS TV at OMANSTI_ and at OMS_TV for all things OMS. Again, we are not solely a YouTube channel. We are a research and development company. Geared towards bringing you the advantages of R&D to the inner cities, underrepresented groups, and people as a whole. So that is an app development in other products and services such as invention help, intellectual property protection, web development, and other things as well. So we do all of that, and moving to have more of a physical presence in the acquisition of R&D spaces in the inner cities and communities as well, Philadelphia, Atlanta, and more. Brother Nuri, we would be remiss if we did not ask for your information that you'd be willing to share so that people can contact you, follow you, get your books, and things of that nature.
Thank you. Well, just NuriMuhammad.com is the easiest way to get access to messages as well as books, and contact me directly. There's a contact Brother Nuri link on the website that goes straight to my phone as soon as you click on it. And of course, I'm on all the social media platforms. Just look up Nuri Muhammad or Brother Nuri and you'll find me. Thank you so much, my brothers. May Allah continue to bless you all, and anything that I could ever do to help add any value to the great work and program that you all have, please don't hesitate to ask. Love you.
Yes, sir. Love you too, sir.
Yes, sir.
May Allah bless you as well.
You as well.
And be sure, for all those